You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
What truth?
That you are a slave, Neo. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage. Born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind.
Jesus saith unto him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man cometh unto the Father but by me. If ye had known me, ye should have known my Father also, and from henceforth ye know him and have seen him. Philip saith unto him, Lord, show us the Father, and it sufficeth us. Jesus saith unto him, Have I been so long time with you, and yet hast thou not known me, Philip? He that hath seen me hath seen the Father. And how sayest thou then, Show us the Father? Believest thou not that I am in the Father, and the Father in me? The words that I speak unto you, I speak not of myself, but the Father that dwelleth in me.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Israelites 13 channel. I'm your host, and tonight is part 6 of The Land of Muta. And this chapter will be called The Reality Matrix. Are we in a matrix or a giant womb of a projected reality? That's the question, and we're going to be delving into many other questions tonight concerning this topic. So that being said, let's go to where it all started after the fall of Atlantis, to pick up where we left off from our last part. Let's go back to the land of Egypt. We had mentioned earlier in the show, in part 5, about the land of Muta, the land of Egypt, as it went down, and the children of light, the sons of the sun, on a rescue mission led by Thoth the Atlantean, were led and directed by the Most High to go into the land of Egypt. So we're going to start at the Temple of Hathor in Dendera. The Dendera Temple Complex, ancient Egypt, Lunit or Tantare, the 19th century English spelling in most sources, including Belzoni, the Great Belzoni, was Tentra, also spelled Dendera. It's located about 2.5 kilometers, 1.6 miles southeast of Dendera, Egypt. It is one of the best preserved temple complexes of ancient Egypt. The area was used by the 6th nome of Upper Egypt and South Abydos. So let's go to the next slide. And they're telling you it's well preserved, but is that the fact? No, not really. If you look at the statues here, as I said in the other shows in the past, you'll find one interesting fact. They always scrub out the faces, especially when the faces are of, as they say, European or Atlantean white race descent. And they do this to hide the fact that these were the Atlantean children. So that being said, let's go on to the next slide. This is an interesting slide inside of Dendera. I'd done a series in the past called the Saturn series, The Sands of Time. And in that, we spoke about projection, reality matrix, light projection, energy pyramids. And if you notice, each one of these are the sons of Adam. If you look at this, this is Adam right here. This is Atum Ra with his double crown. This is his son Seth. And then their lineage going all the way down. And if you notice right here to the right, we have an individual here, and this would be Thoth. He's holding up his 2 arms, and here we have a sun disk with the all-seeing eye of Ra, and what appears to be some type of mechanism. This is some type of stand, or you can say this is an example of the horns of the white bull or Taurus. But if you really look at it, it looks like some type of technology. And I believe what they're showing you here is they're showing you that passing through this projection point, the sun, as I said in another show in the past, that the children of Adam's projection point was through the sun. This is symbolic of that, or this is actually some type of technology. But what I believe that this is some type of technology that when these sons of light, as in the Emerald Tablets, say that we made bodies for ourselves. I believe these are higher dimensional beings coming through this projection point, and their light being congealed into flesh physical form on the earth. And if you notice here, this is Thoth right here, and he is controlling this. Well, now, whether this is through frequency or through thought transmission, I have no idea. But I just found this very interesting seeing that. If you look, you have this eye, and it's very, very similar to the medulla oblongata of the brain. And we're not going to get into that right now, but it's almost identical. So having said that, let's move on to the next slide. A little close-up of the same picture here. This is Adam again. They say the Falcon or Horus or Thor. And this is the double-headed crown, as above, so below. There is that's his staff. This is his son right here. I believe this is Seth. He also has a double crown. He was the image of his father, but this is the scepter of power, and only Adam at that time has it. No one on earth has the scepter of power, and anyone who says that is delusional. So that being said, just to give you a close up of this incredible hieroglyphic here in Egypt. So let's move on to the next one. This is very interesting. As I said in the past shows, especially in the Saturn series, they showed you in the Superman movies how light was projected into these certain cubes, and these cubes somehow working with the light of the sun, and they would project images. But if you notice, this picture is it's very interesting. If you look at this hieroglyphic here we have the sun projecting the rays down onto the earth, but everything else next to them, they're upside down. In other words, like as above, so below, but a mirror reflection. If you look at this picture, this is a symbolic representation, in my opinion, of Eve. Now, if you notice the ears right here, the ears on this representation are of a cow. And if you go to the book of Enoch, Enoch's dream vision, it tells you, behold, a bull came forth from the earth, and that bull was white. And from that bull came a heifer, a white heifer. Now, this is the cow that came forth from the white bull from the rib of Adam. And these ears are symbolic of that, as she has been projected from a higher dimension down to the earth, projecting her physical form, passing through the eye of Ra. And here we have the upside down, or as above, so below. It's like if you have like in Washington, D.C., you have all these, you have like the Washington Monument, and in front of it, there's a pool of water. Well, that's not there by accident. They're showing you that that we're in a projected reality, and it's a mirror of a reality above. And what they're showing you here is that Eve has passed through, she came from Adam, and they've passed through the eye of Ra, the sun disk, and they are being projected down into this reality. This is the physical world here, and she's being projected into it. Having said that, let's move on to the next slide. Secrets of the universe. As Nikola Tesla said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. So do we live in a projected reality? You tasked me to provide an assessment of the gateway experience in terms of its mechanics and ultimate practicality. As I set out to fulfill that task, it soon became clear that in order to assess the validity and practicality of the process, I need to do enough supporting research and analysis to fully understand how and why the process works. Frankly, sir, that proved to be an extremely involved and difficult business. Initially, based on conversations with a physician who took the gateway training with me, I had recourse to the biomedical models developed by Ishak Bentov to obtain information concerning the physical aspects of the process. Then I found it necessary to delve into various sources for information concerning quantum mechanics in order to be able to describe the nature and functioning of human consciousness. I had to be able to construct a scientifically valid and reasonable lucid model of how consciousness functions under the influence of the brain, hemisphere synchronization technique employed by Gateway. Once this was done, the next step involved recourse to theoretical physics in order to explain the character of the time-space dimension and the means by which expanded human consciousness transcends it in achieving Gateway's objectives. Finally, I again found it necessary to use physics to bring the whole phenomena of out-of-body states into the language of physical science to remove the stigma of its occult connotations and put it in a frame of reference suited to objective assessment. Well, what the gentleman is speaking of is syncing the two hemispheres of the brain to, in other words, to laser focus the frequency of thought into higher dimension to access, if you would, an Akashic record that has been out there. In other words, a universal wisdom and knowledge hidden from man. So let's go to the next slide. Paradoxically, having gone to such great lengths to avoid trying to render judgments based on an occult or dogmatic frame of reference, in the end, I found it necessary to return, at least briefly, to the question of the impact of the Gateway experience on common belief systems. I did so because although it was essential to avoid attempting to render the assessment in the context of such systems, I felt that it was necessary after having completed the analysis to point out that the resulting conclusions do not do any violence to fundamental mainstream of either Eastern or Western belief systems. Unless that point is clearly established, the danger exists that some people will reject the whole concept of the Gateway experience and the mistaken belief that it contradicts and is therefore alien to all that they hold to be right and true. This study is certainly not designed to be the last word on the subject, but I hope the validity of its basic structure and fundamental concepts upon which it is based will make it a useful guide for other USACOM personnel who are required to take the Gateway training or with Gateway materials. Wayne McDonald. So having said that, basically what they're also speaking of, they're talking about out-of-body experience through institutions like the Monroe Institute. I'm very familiar with that. I think it's very interesting that our government and military are actually or have actually done deep, extensive research into outer body experience and delving into higher dimensions of reality and knowledge. So that being said, let's move on to the next one. He's going to explain a little bit here what this hemisync is about, syncing the two hemispheres of the brain. Lamp versus laser. Melissa Jaeger uses a metaphor to help clarify the process involved in the use of hemisync in the Gateway experience. She points out that the human mind in its natural state may be likened to an ordinary lamp, which expends energy in the form of both heat and light, but in a chaotic, incoherent way, which diffuses its energy over a wide area of rather limited depth. On the other hand, the human mind under the discipline of hemisync acts after the fashion of a laser beam, which produces a disciplined stream of light. The stream of energy is projected with total coherence of both frequency and amplitude, such that the surface area of a laser beam contains billions of times the concentrated energy found in a similar surface area on the sun. Gateway assumes that once the frequency and amplitude of the human brain are rendered coherent, it is possible to begin accelerating both so that the human mind is soon resonating at ever higher vibrational levels. The mind can then bring itself into synchronization with more sophisticated and rarefied energy levels in the universe. The mind, when operating at these increasingly rarefied levels, is assumed to be capable of processing the information thus received through the same fundamental matrix by which it makes sense of ordinary physical sensory input to achieve meaning in a cognitive context. Such meaning is usually perceived visually in the form of symbols, but may also be perceived as astonishing flashes of holistic intuition, or even in the form of scenarios involving both visual and oral perception. The mechanics by which the mind exercises the consciousness function will be addressed in more detail later in the paper. So this is a very, very interesting little paragraph here. They're speaking about how to sync both hemispheres of the mind. Basically, what they're telling you is they're trying to sync the two hemispheres of the brain. In other words, one takes in sensory perception of the world around you, or the reality that you live in, and the other side filters it. But the energy of the mind is dispersed. And what they're saying, by syncing the two sides of the brain, the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere, it would, now they're not saying this about the pineal gland, but to me, they're saying through frequency and light modifications that they can enhance the computing power of the human biological computer and access higher forms of understanding from higher realms. Like I said earlier, what some say, or they call it, the Akashic record, a universal stream of wisdom and knowledge. So that being said, let's go to the next slide. Continuing, it says, consequently, the gateway process is designed to rather rapidly induce a state of profound calm within the nervous system and to significantly lower blood pressure to cause the circulatory system, skeletal, and all other physical organ systems to begin vibrating coherently at approximately 7 to 7.5 cycles per second. The resulting renaissance sets up a regular repetitive sound wave which propagates in consciousness within electrostatic field of the earth. Energy entrainment. As the body is turned into a coherent oscillator vibrating in harmony with the surrounding electrostatic medium, the specific exercises included in the gateway tapes enjoin the participant to build up the energy field surrounding his body, presumably by using energy from the Earth's field, which the body is now entraining because of its ability to resonate with it. This puts the body's energy field into homogeneity with its surrounding environment and promotes movement of the seat of consciousness into the surrounding environment, partially in response to the fact that two of the electromagnetic mediums are now a single energy continuum. Thus, the same process which moves the brain into focused coherence at steadily higher levels of frequency and amplitude so as to entrain analogous frequencies in the universe for data collection also promotes enhancement of bodily energy levels to a point adequate to permit the subject to experience an out-of-body movement. When he is ready to do so, more will be said about this topic later. In addition, by resonating with the Earth's electromagnetic sphere, the human body creates a surprisingly powerful carrier wave to assist the mind in communication activity with other human minds similarly tuned. So let's see what Hollywood has to say about your body being connected to a carrier wave.
You did all this?
The pill you took is part of a trace program. It's designed to disrupt your input-output carrier signal so we can pinpoint your location.
What does that mean?
It means buckle your seatbelt, Dorothy, because Kansas is going bye-bye.
that dream, Neo, that you were so sure was real? What if you were unable to wake from that dream? How would you know the difference between the dream world and the real world?
This can't be. Be what? Be real?
It's going into replication.
Hey, Pop.
Still nothing. Let's go. Let's go.
Tank, we're going to need a signal soon.
I got a fibrillation.
APOC, location.
Targeting almost there.
He's going into arrest.
Lock, I got him.
Now, Tank, now.
No. I don't believe it. It's not possible.
I didn't say it would be easy, Neo. I just said it would be the truth.
Stop. Let me out. Let me out. I want out.
Easy, Neo. Easy.
Take this thing. Get away from me. Stay away from me. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
It's gonna pop.
Breathe.
Just breathe.
So Hollywood tells you, let me back up. Hollywood is telling you that you have an input-output carrier wave. And they are telling you here in this CIA declassified document that through this technique of syncing both hemispheres of your brain, that you create an energy field that produces a powerful carrier wave. In other words, coming outside the third dimensional frequency of the earth and with laser beam focus of the mind light energy, tapping into fields above or frequencies above in higher dimensions to gain wisdom and knowledge. That's what these people are doing. And it's amazing to me that you rarely ever hear of anything like this, that our government does these type of experiments, and they are literally trying to figure out what we live in. Is it a projected reality? And I think if you go back, I'm going to back up a little bit here. If you back up to this Egyptian hieroglyphic, as I said earlier, I believe this is what Thoth is activating here. These are the sons of the Most High, the ones that made bodies for themselves, as the Emerald Tablets of Thoth tell you. And they also say the same exact thing in the 12 pyramids of Thoth, that there are pyramids above and below. The one that's above is projecting your reality or you into this reality from a higher dimension or higher frequency. And they are showing you right here that this is the technology from the heavens that they use to send you into the earth. When two people come together, two Adamic people, man and woman, come together to procreate, that like we read in other texts, that the soul is sent from above down into this sun disk or the eye of Ra, and they're showing you that you are projected. Eve was projected here, and once she was projected here through the act of unification of a man and a woman, is rated PG way of saying that the two become one and they create life together. The soul is sent from above heaven and projected into the mother's womb. And when the water and they pass through the heavenly water or the light, the liquid light of the heavens, and they come down to the earth into the mother's womb, the water breaks and the child passes from as above, so below, and passes from the heavenly liquid water or liquid light water into the womb of the mother, and that water breaks in the physical world and passes through the flesh portal of the mother into the world. And they are literally showing you this. This is my understanding of what I'm seeing of this upside down projection of Eve coming to the earth. So moving on, continuing, I'm going to go ahead and minimize this. Consciousness and energy. So the government and the CIA and Army Intel, they are trying to figure out what our reality is made of. And they're telling you, and this, to me, this is one of the most mind-blowing documents I've ever read, that our government would even be involved in something like this. But, to them, we're plebiscites and they're the masters of the universe. Consciousness and energy. Before our explanation can proceed any further, it is essential to define the mechanism by which the human mind exercises the function known as consciousness, and to describe the way in which that consciousness operates to deduce meaning from the stimuli which it receives. To do this, we will first consider the fundamental character of the material world in which we have our physical existence in order to accurately perceive the raw stuff with which our consciousness must work. The first point which needs to be made is that the two terms matter and energy tend to be misleading if taken to indicate two distinctively different states of existence in the physical world that we know it. Indeed, if the term matter is to be taken to mean solid substance as opposed to energy, which is understood to mean a force of some sort, then the use of the former is entirely misleading. Science now knows that both the electrons which spin in the energy field located around the nucleus of atoms and the nucleus itself are made up of nothing more than oscillating energy grids. Solid matter, in the strict construction of the term, simply does not exist. Rather, atomic structure is composed of oscillating energy fields surrounded by other oscillating energy grids which orbit at extraordinarily high speeds. In his book, Stalking the Wild Pendulum, Istok Bentov gives the following figures. The energy grid, which composes the nucleus of atom, vibrates at approximately 10 to 22 hertz, which means 10 followed by 22 zeros. At 70 degrees Fahrenheit, an atom oscillates at the rate of 10 to 15 hertz. An entire molecule composed of a number of atoms bound together in a single energy field vibrates in the range of 10 to 9 hertz. A live human cell vibrates at approximately 10 to 3 hertz. The point to be made is that the entire human being, brain, consciousness, and all is like the universe which surrounds him, nothing more or less than an extraordinarily complex system of energy fields. The so-called states of matter are actually variances in the state of energy. Let me move my little bar here. In the state of energy, and human consciousness is a function of the interaction of energy in the two opposite states, motion versus rest, in a manner described in the following paragraph. Wow, a lot to wrap your mind around. So what does Hollywood say about solid matter? They put it right in your face and they laugh at the plebiscites because we're the low slave class and these are the priest class in their minds. They call themselves elites, which is a fraud within itself. If you break that word down, I have to get into the wordplay again. You break it in half. It's L-E-L, ites. And these are the frauds that were thrown out of the heavens. And they've assumed the name El-ites, meaning sons of or belonging to a certain tribe or a progeny. And these frauds, these fallen angel frauds, are literally running the earth. And and by the laws of the universe or God's law, they have to tell you what you're involved in, and they hide it in plain sight and laugh at our ignorance. So enough of that little rant, but let's see what Hollywood says about solid matter.
not try and bend the spoon. That's impossible. Instead, only try to realize the truth.
What truth?
There is no spoon.
There is no spoon?
Then you'll see that it is not the spoon that bends, it is only yourself.
The Oracle will see you now.
It is not the spoon that bends, it is only yourself.
Very, very, very cryptic scene here. If you notice, the spoon boy is telling Neo that the spoon isn't real. Just like the CIA documents tell you, they're atoms oscillating at a higher frequency and congealed, I guess the best way, congealed photons or light energy into physical solid matter or shapes. And if you notice something very cryptic here that the boy does and that Hollywood is showing you here within the spoon. Notice he's showing in the spoon, in the sphere here of the spoon, he's showing the reflection of the so-called spoon boy in the movie. Now watch what happens here. When Neo moves the projection of this spoon with his mind, with his consciousness, at a higher level of vibration outside of the third dimension, he went from being in a normal position of his head up, and now the projection of Neo is upside down, as above, so below, just like what I showed you earlier in Hathor and Dendera, of the projection of Eve, as above, so below. And that's exactly what they're showing you here. The boy is upright, and the projection of Neo is upside down.
The Oracle will see you now.
Just a little side note there. So is there anything in ancient text that confirm this? So we're going to go to the 12 Pyramids of Thoth. We've read this, or excuse me, I've read this in past shows. And I'm going to continue here. It says the 12 Pyramids of Thoth. The pyramid above the Middle East is the focal point for the first story of humanity. In other words, Amun kind, the sons of light, the gods and goddesses of Sumer. You would know this place as the cradle of civilization, the story of Adam and Eve and their bloodline. This is the Anglo-Saxon, Scandinavian, Nordic, Basque, Lombard, Germanic, Atlantean white race of Adam. And they're telling you this, and in the halls of, in Dendera, where I showed you the hieroglyphic on the wall of Thoth, the Atlantean, with the eye of Ra, is showing you that they're literally taking physical form through the eye of Ra. And some texts will tell you they call it the liquid light of the heavenly, the four rivers of the liquid light of the Father from his footstool. And these texts are telling you that the first humans, or if you look at the word A-M-U-N, Amun kind, they are the gods and goddesses of Sumer. You would know this place as the cradle of civilization, the story of Adam and Eve and their bloodline. It is from this pyramid that a tale was told of the first humans, Amun, children of Amun, who came to play on earth's soil and to give it life. Their very existence would be created as a metaphor for the creational patterns, light projection patterns mixed with sound frequency, creating physical bodies, and they made bodies for themselves. The creational patterns of Amun's earliest roots, and the sacred symbol of this creation, Vitruvian man, as above, so below, the pyramid going up and one down below, on top of each other. It says, let me see, and the sacred symbol of this creation would be genetically encoded into those who would come to be a part of the land. And Carl and I had said this on an earlier show that the genetic encoding that each child of Adam and Eve, you were genetically encoded to the projection pyramid, which I called a reality racial light energy projection pyramids. Your genetics are encoded from above and sent down into a focused beam of light through frequency sent down here on the earth, and you are genetically coded or attached to that land. That's where they get your DNA from, and they can tell you exactly where you're from if they sequence your DNA. You're not going to get that on 23andMe. I'm talking about an actual sequencing from both sides of your mother and your father. But it's telling you right here that they would come to be a part of the land. So you have the pyramid above, pointed downwards, and then the one below it pointing up. And these two pyramids connect with each other and project you in this reality, having said that, let me continue. It says, for it is these souls who would awaken at the end of this cycle to lead others into the next creation. The Middle East would carry the frequency. Let me stop here again. The CIA and Army intelligence just told you that each one of us we have our atomic structure gives off a certain frequency, light, energy, cymatics. But this is at a much greater level. I'm talking God technology, millions of years beyond anything that we have in that field. But it says the Middle East would carry the frequency of this information throughout the cycle of time. Much blood would be shed by the keepers of the secrets and their descendants on this soil where creation was said to spring forth. It is in this region that the lords of light, or the sons of light versus the sons of darkness, would play out the earliest games or battles that would continue until the end of this cycle and the beginning of a golden age of light. Paul said the same thing. He said, in the twinkling of an eye, we will all be changed. Changed to what? Our glorified bodies of light, golden age of light. The return of the Anunnaki, or the return of Zeus, of Jupiter, Amun, Zeus, Amun Ra, and his sons, these sons right here, the gods and goddesses who are now in physical human flesh form on the earth, not gods, not gods in the meaning of in ancient times where you had this golden age of the gods that ruled the earth, but they have been, like I said, downsized, and the text confirms this, and we are their progeny. Continuing, it says, let me see, the cycle begins the golden age of light to be brought forth by the keeper of this projection pyramid, one known as Tashi, which is Eve. It's she of Atum Ra, she who came from Atum, Ra, El Amun. So Adam and Eve right in front of you. And it's telling you right here, Adam and Eve and their bloodline, and the ones in control of this projection reality matrix pyramid system, projection system that we're sent here from, are this she who came from Atum Ra, Eve, and El Amun, God's son of light, Adam. So continuing. We're going to go back to these CIA documents. This is going to be long-winded, so please be patient with me. Let me move this bar here and continue. Okay. The whole concept of holography, despite its scientific implications, has only been known to physicists since the underlying mathematical principles were worked out by Dennis Gabor in 1947, later won a Nobel Prize for his work. Laboratory demonstrators of Gabor's work only occurred years later following the invention of the laser. As biologist Lyle Watson explains, the purest kind of light available to us is that produced by a laser, which sends out a beam in which all the waves are of one frequency, like those made by an ideal pebble in a perfect pond. When two laser beams touch, they produce an interference pattern of light and dark ripples that can be recorded on a photographic plate. And if one of those beams, instead of coming directly from the laser, is reflected first off of an object such as a human face, the resulting pattern will be very complex indeed, but it can still be recorded. The record will be a hologram of the face. So at a very rudimentary level, they are trying to explain in the best of their ability of what we live in. I didn't write this, they wrote this. I'm just bringing this forward to you. So continuing, the consciousness matrix. So now you know where Hollywood got this name from. We'd said that in the past, Carl and I, and this is nothing that these geniuses came up with. Everything that they get in these movies are funneled to them by the CIA, and they put it right in your face. And they literally call the underling class plebiscites. That's what they call us. And they loathe us, they hate us because they are at war with us. I'm not saying all of them, I'm not broad brushing all of them, but there are certain fallen angel demons in flesh suits that run these these institutions, and they put it right in your face by universal law what you live in. So continuing, the consciousness matrix. The universe is composed of interacting energy fields, some at rest and some in motion. It is in and of itself one gigantic hologram of unbelievable complexity. Whoa, whoa. Let's read that again. It is in and of itself one gigantic hologram of unbelievable complexity in reference to our universe, what we live in. According to the theories of Carl Pribram, a neuroscientist at Stanford University, and David Bohm, a physicist at the University of London, the human mind is also a hologram, which attunes itself to the universal hologram by the medium of energy exchange, thereby deducing means of achieving the state which we call consciousness. With respect to states of expanded or altered consciousness, such as Gateway uses, the process operates in the following way. As energy passes through various aspects of the universal hologram and is perceived by the electrostatic fields which comprise the human mind, the holographic images being conveyed are projected upon these electrostatic fields of the mind and are perceived or understood to the extent that the electrostatic field is operating at a frequency and amplitude that can harmonize with and therefore read the energy carrier wave pattern passing through it. Changes in the frequency and amplitude of electrostatic fields which comprise the human mind determines the configuration and hence the character of the holographic energy matrix which the mind projects to intercept meaning directly from the holographic transmissions of the universe. Then, to make sense of what the holographic image is saying to it, the mind proceeds to compare the image just received with itself. Specifically, it does this by comparing the image received with that part of its own hologram, which constitutes memory by registering differences in geometric forms. The Vitruvian man, that's what they're telling you. And in energy frequency, just like Nikola Tesla told you, if you want to understand the universe, frequency, energy and frequency. The consciousness perceives, contrary, I'm sorry, I lost my place there. Contrary to what everyone knows is so, it may not be the brain that produces consciousness, but rather consciousness that creates the appearance of the brain. This is so cryptic. And what this gentleman is telling you without telling you is that there is a God. He doesn't come out and say it. I don't know why. He might be an atheist. I have no idea. But let me read that again. He says, contrary to what everyone knows is so, it may not be the brain that produces consciousness, but rather consciousness that creates the appearance of the brain. The question here is, what consciousness? What is he talking about? He's telling you that there is a consciousness. And let me back up. The first thing to understand about God, outside of the biblical text, which I believe he left us a lot of biblical text to give us an understanding of him. But the first thing to understand about the Most High is that we don't understand the Most High in his true form, in his true energy form, or the invisible spirit. You're talking about a being that is outside of time space, a being who created the very levels of these so-called dimensions of this complex, as they write here in these declassified documents, that the universe is a complex hologram, very complex. So you're talking about a being who created the dimensions and who is outside of the dimensions. So having said that, this consciousness that this individual is writing about is the consciousness of the Most High, our Father in heaven, or outside of the dimensions. And he is literally telling you without saying it that there is a God. So continuing, to complete our outline of the process by which the mind achieves and exercises consciousness, we must also describe the mechanism which accounts for the aspects of human thought that differentiates it from consciousness of plants or animals, i.e. self-cognition. Humans not only know, but they know that they know. They are able to monitor the process of their own thinking and maintain awareness of it. They can conduct a comparative, I'm going to have to put my peeps on for this, a comparative assessment evaluating the functioning of their thought process against various objective standards they have adopted. Human consciousness can do this because it has the capacity to duplicate aspects of its own hologram. Oh my God, this is mind-blowing. Project them out, perceive that projection, like looking in a mirror, put it through comparison with the memory aspect where its evaluation standards of measures are stored of its own hologram, and measure or sense the difference using three-dimensional geometry and then binary go, no go pulses to yield variable cognition about the self. So three-dimensional geometry, he's talking about physical forms, photons, light energy through frequency congealing so-called matter into these physical forms we call human bodies or temples. And then he talks about then binary, just like ones and zeros, blah, blah, blah. And in other words, it's code. It's the most complex, if you want to call it, computer system ever devised. Continuing, time-space dimension. Up to this point, our discussion of the gateway process has been relatively simple and easy to follow. Now the fun begins. Gateway involves more than just perception of those aspects of the universal hologram, which can be accessed in three dimensions of time space as we know it. To explain how and why human consciousness can be brought to transcend the limitations of time space is the next task which must be addressed. To do this, we must first appreciate what time and space are in order to understand how the dimensions that they constitute can be transcended. Physicists define time as a measure of energy or force in motion. However, in order for energy to be in motion, it must first be limited in some way within the confines of some sort of vibratory pattern so that its confinement gives the capacity for being contained at a specific location, which is distinguishable from other locations or space. Energy, which is not confined, is force without limit, without dimension, without the limit of form. It is infinity, cannot move because there is nothing beyond infinity. This is the invisible spirit of our Father. He is in infinity. Like I said, He created the dimensions. He's outside of time, space, and the dimensions that he created. He can enter them, leave them. He can change them, end one cycle, begin a new cycle, send whoever he wants into here at will. The limits, continuing, energy, which is not confined as force, without limit, without dimension, without the limits of form, it is infinity, cannot move because there is nothing beyond infinity and is therefore outside of the dimension of time, is also beyond space because the concept implies that a specific energy form is limited to a specific location and is absent from other locations. But if energy is in the state of infinity, alpha and omega, there are no boundaries, no here to differentiate from there, no sense of area. Energy and infinity means energy uniformly extended without limit. It has no beginning, no end, no location. It is consciousness, it is conscious force, the fundamental primal power of existence without form, a state of infinite, let me repeat that, a state of infinite being. This is the Most High, the Alpha and Omega. That's why God said that. Energy and infinity is said to be completely at rest and therefore cannot generate holograms so long as it remains utterly inactive. It retains its inherent generative hologram so long as it remains utterly inactive. It retains its inherent capacity for consciousness in that it can receive and passively perceive holograms generated by energy and motion out in the various dimensions which make up the created universe. But it cannot be perceived by consciousness operating in the active universe. Energy in this state of inactive infinity is termed by physicists, hold on, I'm kind of losing my place here. It is termed by physicists as energy in its absolute state, or simply the absolute, the alpha and the omega, between the absolute and the material universe in which we experience our physical existence are various intervening dimensions to which human consciousness is in altered states of being may gain access. Theoretically, human consciousness may continue to expand the horizons of its perceptual capability until it reaches the dimension of absolute, at which point perception stops because of the absolute generates no holograms of or outside of itself. So he's telling you that I guess from a layman's perspective, he is telling you that there is a overall consciousness, an alpha and omega. And this is and continuing what I said earlier, he's admitting that there is a God and he's outside of these holograms. Well, let me continue. He's telling you that the mind, the frequency of the mind that is connected to the projection pyramids in this third density at a certain frequency, that through hemisync or syncing of the two hemispheres of the brain, that they are trying to achieve higher levels of enlightenment, of understanding, of wisdom and knowledge, of God knowledge, Akashic record. And they were actively doing these experiments at the Monroe Institute, trying to leave their bodies, which I don't recommend to anyone. I would never do that in a million years. But that's a little side note. So continuing, let's go to the next slide. Here they're giving you actual illustrations of the mind and how three-dimensional geometry is used to perceive this reality of the universal matrix. And they're telling you that the left hemisphere consciousness grid acts like the mind's computer software to reduce input from the right hemisphere to the verbal symbols and concepts. So through your senses, and then the right hemisphere consciousness grid reduces three-dimensional holographic images to two, go, no go, or into binary code. So in other words, one side filters out the other side. That's why when you have individuals that use these drugs, this ayahuasca, And then they all say the same thing, that they see these little elves and all kind of weirdo stuff. Through these chemicals, they're literally changing the frequency of their mind, and they're going into other dimensions or other holographic dimensions. The government, this is what your government is doing. Now, I'm not saying that they're using drugs here, but they're trying to regulate the systems of your body in a coherent rhythmic pattern with the earth, to create energy fields around you and to focus the mind into a beam from down below and back into the heavens where you're projected, to give these guys wisdom and knowledge. So having said that, here's another literal view of it, of the brain. Okay. If you guys want to pause this and go over it yourself, have at it. And here's another, the medulla oblongata, the eye of Ra. They're showing you right here. Let me get this out of the way here. They're showing you right here that in the mind, in the human mind, you have the eye of Ra inside of your brain, and it's literally almost identical to each other. Is that part of the matrix, as above, so below, in your projection to the earth? Very possibly well could be, because as the one physicist said, he said, it's not the mind that produce or perceives the universe. It's literally the consciousness of the all that generates the projection of the mind. So that's enough of that sci-fi jibber jabber. Let's go to the next slide here. The medulla oblongata is the brain section responsible for conscious thought and the regulation of involuntary action. It lies on the brain stem edge in front of the cerebellum. Okay. Life is in the blood. Blood is congealed light. It is a reference to the Raman effect. There's something hidden in that word right in front of you, which is a scientific phenomena that occurs when monochromatic light shines on a transparent substance. Human blood contains biophotons, which are tiny packets of light that are released by cells throughout the body. So this all ties in with the human projection, as above, so below. And as the Bible tells you, it says that the life of all living beings is in the blood. And within this blood, you have biophotons, which are tiny packets of light. So just giving you a very base understanding of your temple that is projected from above into this third density. So having said that, esoteric meaning of Hathor. Hathor, Rathor equals your temple. To the feminine, or Eve, Adamic women are physical portals for the sons of light or their soul sparks to enter the earth matrix. The soul spark is sent from above, higher dimension, passing through the heavenly water of light, liquid light, the four rivers of light, or the eye of Ra, and implanted into the mother's womb, the circle of life. This light, soul spark, is then congealed into physical form, the human body. At birth, the baby passes through the water of the womb, breaks the water as above, so below, passing through the flesh portal, birth canal, into the third dimension, earth matrix. Upon death, the soul spark is released from its confinement of the body, set free from the human body, and gets collected by God's angels and sent back to the source from which it came. So moving on, I found this very interesting. This hieroglyphic in Hathor, in Dendera. You have Thoth, the god Thoth, right here, Enoch, Hermes, standing in front of this same eye of Ra with this same mechanism, or through the horns, the horns of Taurus or of the white bull, with the eye of Ra. And here you have something that appears to be the Ark of the Covenant. And if you look at the little squares, the different color stones on it, 3, 6, 9, 12, 12, I would say that each one of these represent the 12 tribes of the sons of light of El Ra'is. And if you look at the blue stones right here, these blue stones are in a cross symbology. So I am not saying that I can read hieroglyphics, but I am studying a few books on how to read it, which is very interesting. Like this symbol right here is an M. So That being said, let's move on to the next slide. Found this interesting as well. The Iconium of John the Baptist is a legend that is quoted from a little old manuscript in the library at Jerusalem to the effect that our Lord Jesus Christ gave John a boat made of gold in which he would be able to ferry over the river of fire to the third heaven the souls of those who had honored or commemorated him upon earth. Here we have a survival of an ancient Egyptian legend, which is found in the pyramid text of the 6th dynasty. So let's go back. Is this the boat that Jesus gave to John the Baptist right here? And then magically we have the Ark of the Covenant with the Eye of Ra, the sun. So that's a very intriguing question, and I think there's definitely a connection there. So moving on, let's see what Hollywood says about these projection pyramids. I added this. This is one of my favorite sci-fi movies right here, and there's so much packed into this movie. But I'm going to show you something that Hollywood puts right in your face. So let's begin. Very, very, very cryptic scene right there from the movie Oblivion, which if you have not seen it, please watch that movie. It's an incredible movie. But if you notice, Jack, which is metaphor for Jack and Jill, or Adam and Eve, Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down, broke his crown, or lost his crown. Side note there, but they're telling you in this clip right here that the Emerald Tablets told you that the sons of light came to the earth and made bodies for themselves. That being said, if you look as Jack flies in this ship, he's seeing, and he just discovered that he's one of hundreds of thousands or maybe millions of clones. And as the 12 pyramids of Thoth and then the Emerald Tablets tell you, it says that the sons of light came to the earth and saw basic men in bondage. So they made bodies for themselves. And from the higher dimensions, they came into these bodies and inhabited the earth. So if you look, each one of these clones, this is Jack, and this is his partner. Her name is Vidka, and they are in truncated pyramids. There's an outside part of the pyramid, and they're in some type of fluid, and there's an inside light part of the same truncated pyramids that they're in. But if you notice, the female, or the X, is facing down, and the Y chromosome truncated pyramid is facing up. The 12 pyramids of Thoth tell you this verbatim, that there are pyramids outside of the dimension that you live in, projecting your reality. And here they are flaunting it, throwing it right in your face. And this is metaphor for how Adam and Eve, as I just read from the 12 pyramids of Thoth, how the sons of light came into the earth. And they are showing you right in your face that they are in these cocoons, but they're truncated pyramids on board a giant pyramid mothership. So if you look at the truncated pyramids that Jack and Vika are in, if you overlay the two, they form Vitruvian Man, the projection of the human temple or human body. And they're putting it right in your face. So continuing, let's look at the esoteric meaning of Hathor. If you look at the word and you break it down, Ha, it basically this is, I'm going to give you another little clue, but this is a very significant two letters right here. And like I said before, these names all have single, double, and triple, sometimes even more than that, different meanings in the word. And they're for those with eyes to see and ears to hear. So here they're hiding something from you. This basically means Ra Thor, or Adam in God form, Ra Thor, the son, Son, or the son, Son of the Sun, Thor. And in the Emerald Tablets, Thoth writes in there, and they scramble this word, Horlet. And the Horlet means basically the same exact thing, Thor El, when you unscramble this anagram. Okay, having said that, the actual meaning of Dendera, it's the same exact thing. You have a multi-level word that's hidden in plain sight, a double meaning right in your face, Dendera. If you drop these letters and you look at these literal letters, it's Edna, Enda, which you reverse it, Ade, and reverse these two, it's Adin, Adam. And if you look within the word, if you read it anglicized left to right, it's Ra. And if you read it from the Hebrew, which is right to left, you have Ra in front of you again. There were different ways to spell Ra. If you go into the Proto-European languages, I think there's like 449 different Proto and Indo-European languages. But if you look at this word Ra, you read it left to right, it's Ra, and then right to left, it's Ra. So you drop this at the very end of Dendera, it's Ra, and then you add it to Adam, it's Ra Adam, or it equals Adam Ra, Atum Ra, the Son of God. And that's what that means. Now, they say that this is to the feminine goddess of Hathor or whatever, but it was she that came from Adam. Tashi Ra El Amun. That's what it means. Here we have Zeus, our father, Zeus, as the Greeks called him. Jesus, it's Adam. And as a matter of fact, Alexander the Great, when he went into Egypt, and some may know this, some may not, they gave him the title of Pharaoh. And he came to the understanding through reading secret text and stuff and he even said that he was a son of Zeus Ammon, Ammon, Zeus Ammon, or Jupiter Ammon, which is Adam, Zeus Adam, which is just another way of saying Atum Ra. And he understood this. And here's the scepter of power. And no one on the internet has this. And anyone that says that, they're blaspheming God right to his face, because this is only given to you by the Most High. So anyone that tells you this is delusional and out of their mind. No one has the scepter of power on the internet. So this is Adam, and this is the all-seeing eye, or the outstretched wings of the eagle. So it says, and the world was made for Adam. The world was made for Adam, though he was the last comer to among its creatures. This was design. He was to find all things ready for him. God was the host who prepared the dainty dishes, set the table, and then led his son to his seat. At the same time, Adam's late appearance on the earth is to convey the admonition of humility. Let him be aware of being proud. And pride always comes before a fall, lest he invite the retort of the gnat, that the gnat is older than he. The superiority, this of Adam. This is where your enemy, the fallen angels, come up with these word weapons to attack you, to induce the feeling of guilt. Why supremacy? Because Adam was a cracker. And why supremacy? And why privilege? This is where it comes from. These are fallen angels in the flesh screaming this out. When you hear people saying this, you know they're of the fallen ones. And this is a weird jealousy that goes all the way back to when Satan and his demons were cast out, and Adam and his sons were to literally take the place of theirs into the lower part of paradise, which is the footstool of our Father. So the superiority of Adam to the other creatures is apparent in the very manner of his creation, altogether different from theirs. He's the only one who was created by the hand of God and was given the breath of life from God through his nostrils, or God's DNA. The rest sprang from the Word, or are apparitions of the holodeck matrix. Anyone who's a Star Trek fan will understand that. So moving on. The Book of Shem, son of Noah. This book was written by a gentleman named Alphonse Mangana. And the context of this, he's speaking of astrology and connecting it to the sons of light. So I'm not going to read everything on this. If the viewer wants to pause this and read it himself, he's more than welcome. So I'm gonna just there's going to be a couple things I'm going to touch on. An attempt is made to apply the 12 signs of the zodiac to the 12 tribes of Israel. The following lines will attribute this script, which contains the text, is the same as the one described above under the section Book of Shem of Noah. Again, a discourse upon the 12 children of the sun, written by Andronicus the wise, the philosopher, and the learned, because the lovers of truth must always remember and understand the good and prominent things which enlighten the mind of those who seek after them. I have been anxious, my brethren, to lay down before you the prominent question of the evolution of the courses of the sun. That is to say, the limits, the times, and all the courses of its succession with the days of the moon, and the influence of the 12 children of the sun, which gravitate circuitously in the number of the 12 months. So this is obviously astrology, some sort of astrology, the 12 months of the year, and which foretell events which happen to us by order of God, creator of everything. In investigating the children of the sun, the Greeks have defined and shown their names and their entities. They have called them by names of the gods, and they follow one another in order of that's another Greek word, of the number of the days of the months. That is to say, according to the lunar computation. They begin with Dio, son of Kronos, and they call him Aries. Well, that's not accurate. Continuing. After him comes Poseidon, his brother, whom they call Pisces. After him comes Apollo, whom they call Aquarius. After this, they put Aries, whom they call dog of water, but with us, it's Capricornus. After him, they say Hermes, whom they call Kirwan, Sagittarius. After this, they say Pluto, whom they call Scorpio. After this, Athena, whom they call Libra. After this, they Aphrodite, whom they call Virgo, who is Spica. And after this, they say Artemis, whom they call Leo. After this, they say Dionysus, whom they call Cancer. After this comes Dicuri, called Castor or Pollux, sons of Zeus by Lydia, and they called them Gemini. After them comes Hercules, whom they call Taurus. Asaph, the writer and historian of the Hebrews, and earlier they try to say he's Jewish. I don't know his background, but they say he's a historian of the Hebrews, explains and teaches clearly the history of all these, but does not write and show them with Greek names, but according to the name of the sons of Jacob. So is he fraudulently connecting these two, or is this one civilization calling a certain group of the children of Adam from one civilization and translating them from one language into another language? And I would agree that's probably the latter. So continuing, it says, as to the effects and influences of these children of the sun, he too enumerates them fully without adding or diminishing anything, but in simply changing in a clear language their names into those of the patriarchs. I've said in the past, and Carl and I have said this in the past, that these gods, no matter what civilization it is, whether it's the Sumerians, whether it's the Egyptians, whether it was the Romans, whether it was the Greeks, these same gods that they are speaking of are the children of the sun. These are Adam's children, the children of light, El Ra'is, in God form. But one would have to understand pre-existence, and this is evident in quite a few texts that I found with the same reoccurring theme. And basically, this is telling you that from one civilization to another, their names from the Greek were now sent into another language, into Hebrew. So continuing, says he begins them in the Aramaic language and puts it at the head of Taurus, which he calls Reuben. After it comes Aries, which he's called Simeon. After it Pisces, which he calls it Levi. After it Aquarius, which they call Issachar. After it comes Capricornus, which they call Naphtali. After it, he sketches a rider while shooting and calls him Gad. And he is analogous with Creek of the Greeks. After it comes Scorpio, which he calls Dan. After it, he mentions Libra, which he calls Asher. After it, he mentions Virgo, whom he calls Dinah. After it, Leo, which he calls Judah, the Leo the lion. The symbol of Judah is the lion. Then he sketches Cancer, which is called Zebulun. After it, he mentions Gemini, which he calls Ephraim and Manasseh. As lovers of truth, you will see and understand that these sons of God have been named according to the number of days of the lunar computation. I say this even if it happens that the peal of thunder is heard in them. At each month of the year, each one of the sons of God or the sons of light turns circuitously according to the seasons of the month and gravitates according to the number of the moons, each one of them having been brought about by three cycles, I guess, of the evolution. I'm just filling in words because I don't read Greek. Evolutions of the moon. This is their exposition, their order, and all their influence of which we are aware. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Now, is pre-existence, is that real? Where it, said this in past shows that Adam had two different states of being. He was in God form, and then upon his fall, Adam was thrown into a flesh body. Is there any proof of that in any hidden text? And I'm going to bring that to you tonight, and we're going to go over this text right now, and I think prove my point, what I've been saying. The history of Adam, hidden and hijacked by the rabbis. This is, if I'm not mistaken, I didn't put the source, but this is in an ancient text. It says, in a measure, David was indebted for his life to Adam. At first, only 3 hours of existence had been allotted to him. When God caused all future generations to pass in review before Adam, he besought God to give David 70 of the 1,000 years destined for him. A deed of gift signed by God, and the angel Michael was drawn up. 70 years were legally conveyed from Adam to David in accordance with Adam's wishes. Beauty, dominion, and poetical gift went with them. Beauty and talent, Adam's gifts to David. Adam was about to turn 930 years old. And this is Adam in the flesh. So obviously here above, and these are two separate texts, here above is Adam in his pre-existent state as a god in the realms of light. And here is Adam in his fall at 930 years on the earth in the flesh. So it says Adam was about to turn 930 years old. He regretted his earlier generosity and wanted to back out of the deal. God urged Adam to keep his word. God pointed out that Adam would have a descendant, Jacob, who would make a vow and keep it ultimately Adam agreed to keep his earlier vow. In the Midrash, when Adam originally agreed to give over 70 years of his life to the future David, he signed a document to that effect. The document was co-signed, so to speak, by the master of the universe, Jesus Christ, and by the angel Michael. When Adam turned 930 years, he tried to deny that he ever made such an agreement. At that point, the Almighty pulled out the document, proving that he had made the deal. So, in other words, when you come to the earth, just like Oblivion tells you, your memory is wiped. So, here in the Midrash, which they say is a Jewish writing, no, it was hijacked by them, and then they cut and pasted themselves into it. But when they're speaking of Adam, and you know, like he said in the Revelation of the Magi, he said, I didn't realize my importance before I existed. Well, he's telling you he pre-existed in a different form, in a higher vibrational frequency outside of this dimension. He was the son of light. Oh, Adam, I brought thee out of the light, and I wish for you to bring out children of light like unto thee. And that is exactly what happened. So here he's telling you, when Adam was 930 years in the flesh, he didn't remember making this. And he's basically proving how precious this life is. He did not want to go back yet. He still wanted to stay on the earth and complete the 1,000 years that was promised him in the flesh. And he tried to deny that he ever made such an agreement. And the Almighty pulled out the document with his signature that was written in the heavens. This deed of gift was signed by God and Michael. So one would have to ask themselves, how is David and Adam? Because in other texts, they actually are conversing with each other. And you would have to ask yourself, how are these two, which are generations apart, how are these two conversing with each other? So here we have hardcore proof of pre-existence. The sons of light, they knew that they were coming to the earth upon his fall, and Adam's loving father, Jesus the Christ, told him, you know, you're going to go to the earth, blah, 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 and you're going to live 930 years, because Adam deeded this 70 years of his life to one of his grandsons, David. And if you look at this, this is very, very intriguing right here. This is mind-blowing. It says that when God caused all future generations, so all the sons of light, to pass in review before Adam. So if you go into the Bible, it says that God caused all the animals to pass before Adam, and he named them all. So is it beyond the realm of possibility that Adam named each one of his sons and gave this very name to David? He was a son of light. He was an El Ra'is, a child of this, El meaning God, Ra, son, S-O-N-S-U-N, Is or Ish in the flesh. And they're telling you that he's a son of light, and they passed before him all future generations to pass in review of Adam. And when he saw the potential and the incredible individual that David was to become, and only 3 hours. Now, this is obviously in another dimension. Now, his hours, I haven't broken down the numbers in earthly hours, but he saw the potential of his son, and he gave up 70 years of his own life as David passed before him in review. And I believe Adam named each one of the children of Israel and gave them all names. That's my opinion. I can't find a text that says that, but is it outside the realm of possibility that if Adam named the animals, you're telling me that the Most High didn't let his firstborn, Adam was his firstborn, and said, no, Israel was? Well, that's just a word play for the sons of light. That's all Israel means. And if you notice right here, he says that 70 years, blah, blah, blah. He says that he would have a descendant, that God pointed out to Adam, he would have a descendant, Jacob, who would make a vow and keep it. In other words, as an example of righteousness, and everyone who reads the Bible, they know what this vow was that he kept. But if you notice right here, he doesn't call him Israel right here. He just simply calls him Jacob. I believe Adam gave Jacob the name, and through the vow, and he kept it, he kept this vow to the Most High, and he kept him safe, that this name was bestowed upon him, this title as a son of light, because he was pure in his genetics, just like Noah was. And like the Bible tells you in Genesis 5:1, this is the book of the generations of Adam. It doesn't say of Jacob. It says that Jacob was a descendant of Adam. So back to the original question here, how was Adam and David conversing? And how did all future children of the genetics of Adam pass before Adam? And I believe, in closing this little segment here, that Adam named each one of his sons and grandsons, however you want to verbalize that or word that. So having said that, if you look at this text, we found it now in text of pre-existence, and we found it in other ancient texts. Is there anything in the architecture anywhere in the United States or around the world? And we proved that last week from My Lunch Breaks channel. And but is there anything in the United States that proves the pre-existence of Adam before he was thrown into the flesh? And I think we're going to find our answer in Washington, D.C. So having said that, here we're in Washington, D.C., and we have the Archives of the United States of America. And if you notice, everyone, this is a Christian nation. And I'm not, saying it is or it isn't. But I find it interesting that here we have these supposed pagan gods. That means they're of the devil. No, it doesn't mean that. To the Judeo-Christian who is in the rabbinical mind prison or rabbinical Plato's cave, so to say, yeah, you would believe that. But if you understand the history and you go outside that cave and you read other books, you can make connections, and you will come to the understanding of this message of pre-existence and who these gods were. And right here in Washington, we have an individual. This is Adam, but the Greeks called him Zeus, Anum. The Egyptians called him Atum Ra. And here he is sitting in the archive of the United States, right here, surrounded by angels and two eagles, of the outstretched wings of the eagle. And these are his sons right here. Each one of these, there, if I'm not mistaken, there's 12 of them, sons and daughters. And magically, we have this individual right here, and he has something in his hands like an instrument. Let's get a close-up of this. Here we have, let me minimize this. Here we have Adam, or Zeus, or Jupiter Amun, or Zeus Amun, with Apollo or David. So I just read to you from the other book from Mangana, where you had an individual, I can't remember his name offhand, I have to go back through the notes, but he was connecting the gods to the sons of light. Was he 100% accurate in his connection? No, I don't believe so, but he's on the right path. And if you look at here, here's Adam with the outstretched wings of the eagle. Here's the sun disk right below him with these serpents of wisdom. I don't believe this is of the devil. And these are each one of the sons of Adam in God form, because one would have to ask yourself, what is supposed Greco-Roman architecture doing in Washington, D.C.? Why is that there? Makes no sense. Why isn't there a cross? Why isn't there, pictures of the disciples? Because this is in their pre-existent form of the gods. Each one of these gods are the sons of light. O Adam, I brought thee out of my light, and I willed for you to bring forth children of light like unto thee. And that's exactly what he did. And here we have this son which he gave 70 years of his life, and musical talent and beauty, good looking God form, playing the harp right in your face, hidden in plain sight. So, continuing, the sons of Atumra, Adam, Greek gods and gods in the flesh. This is through my own research. I'm not saying this is 100% accurate, but when you come across this over and over and over again, and you make connections with each one of these gods, and how, this Zeus god, he had lightning, and then you have Mithras, and you have all the Thor, and they were born in caves. These are all the same individuals, but through the different civilization and different translations of these books that have been written, their identities have been hidden. It's hidden from the masses, and the Judeo-Christian churches have always taught that these guys were the devils, and or the sons of the devil, or the evil pagans, when in reality these are our fathers. These guys right here are the fathers of the Adamic white race who came from Atlantis, Adam's land. That's what it means. So here I'm just doing a base comparison of the two. Zeus, Adam; Apollo is David; Hermes, Thoth is Enoch; Ares is Set or Seth; Hercules is Samson; Orpheus, you add an M to that, and it's Morpheus, like in the Matrix. And Neo, he's the one. Neo's another little anagram. Neo is just one, the one. Orpheus was the son of Apollo, or son of David, who is Solomon. Solomon, Apollo, Solo, right in your face, hidden in plain sight. Symbols of the tribes of El Rais, God's sons of light. Here we have David's true symbol. It is a harp, because David was an incredible musician, and he loved to sing. He loved to sing to God, and this was his instrument of choice. And these are his symbols. This is the scepter of power. And like I said, no one on the internet has this. If they say that, it is blasphemy to God, and God will punish you for that. So anyone saying that, you need to backtrack on that, because you are in deep error. So having said that, this is another symbol of David through Pharez and Zerah, through his mother Tamar. And you had you had the Red Hand of Ulster, the Irish people, and the Scots. I'm not going to get into all who the Judahites were, but you had a red lion and a yellow lion with the scepter of power, and you had the harp, which was the symbol of David. And it's not that symbol over in the Middle East, over in Israel, with a circle around it. They're little blue hexagrams. So that's a total fraud. So having said that, let's continue. This is from my personal collection of what the Most High has shown me in the heavens. And this, to me, is no doubt, this is a harp. And I'm just bringing this, as a reference point. This is something, to me, that's incredible. And I'm sharing it with you, and, do with it as thou wilt. So that being said, let's go back to King David. To appreciate rightly the supremacy of the musical wisdom that Solomon had, we need to account for his excelling musical background. Solomon was the son of King David, who was a prophet, who was an extraordinarily skilled harpist, who had the Spirit on him. Songs of what did David and Solomon, what did they look like? Songs of Solomon: my beloved is white and ruddy, the chiefest among 10,000. Not black, not yellow, not blue, not green. He was white, showed blood in the face. His head was as the most fine gold. His locks are bushy and black as a raven. He had black hair. Solomon, does that mean he was of Cain, as some rank amateurs try to project that? No, he was not of the seed of Cain. That's within the genetic code of the sons of Adam. That is one of the colors of their hair. So that being said, let's move on to the next slide. Here we have Apollo equals David. family Orpheus or Morpheus. Orpheus had an excellent musical pedigree, as his mother was Muse Calliope, and he learned his great skill from his father, the god Apollo, the finest musician of them all. So let me back up a little bit here. So if we go right here, that this Apollo, David, was given talent. If you go back, like I said, in the slide where we're talking about pre-existence, here we have in this slide right here that as these children of his offspring, the future generations, passed in review before Adam, that he gave him, he even signed a contract. 70 years were taken from him and given to Adam as they were going to be projected in to the earth matrix from a higher dimension, higher frequency, in accordance with Adam's wishes. Then he asked the Most High to give my son David beauty, dominion, King David, and poetical gifts. That's music and writing. A poetical gift went with him, beauty and talent. Adam's gifts to David. This is mind blowing. They will never tell you this in a church. They will never tell you the importance of Adam, that he was the original Israel, not Abraham, not Isaac, not Jacob. They were descendants of this bloodline, this pure bloodline. And Adam was the purest of the bloodline. I'm not saying that they were not pure, but Adam literally had the DNA injected right into him through his nostrils, however you want to put it, from his father, the Most High. And he was the son. And the text say he was identical. He looked identical to his father. He was the son of God. This is Adam. And he's giving his son these gifts. And here it is right in your face. This is the honor that was bestowed on Adam. And he bestowed these gifts to David. So in pre-existence, or in the heavens or realms of light, Adam was conversing with David. So wrap your mind around that. We're going to go back to Adam's fingerprints now. And this is the island of Bermuda, remnants of Atlantis. Hold on, let me move this another shot here. Go ahead and turn this on. If you look, you have certain islands, Azores, Madeira, Bermuda. So is there anything in these very names that have Adam's name on it? And I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Yes, there are. So let's go to the next slide. The Madeira archipelago is located in the North Atlantic Ocean in the Micronesian region and is closer to Africa than Europe, 434 miles west, Morocco, blah, blah, blah. Madeira is less than 1,000, blah, 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 Portuguese, the coast, whatever. So they're giving the geographic location. So moving on. Let's look at the esoteric meaning of Madeira. Here it's hidden right in your face. That is right to left, left to right. If you read it from right to left and you get rid of the E, the I, and the R, we have A, D, A, M. This was a part of Atum's land, Adam's land. So that one island that they're showing is literally part of the remnant of the actual Atlantis. So let's go to the next. What is the esoteric meaning of the island of Bermuda? If you scratch out the B and you look at the last four letters and you read it right to left, it's A-D-U-M, Adum, Adum Ra, Adum Ra, Ra Adam. So where do we get the Ra? This is another way of writing it. It's not only R-A, it's R-E, R-A-H. It's, through the different languages, it's, Proto-Indo-European, whatever language. I've been through 60 or 70 of these languages looking for the different pronunciations of these certain words, like Ra, Ro, Ray, and they all have the same exact meanings. So having said that, let's go to the next slide. Here's an illustration of the Proto and the Indo-European languages. I'm not going to go through every single one of them, but the viewer can pause this and look at each one of these if they want. Have at it. The fall of Atlantis and the remnants of the sons of light all over the earth. Different Atlantean people, Adamic white race people, were left all over the world when Atlantis, aka the land of Mu or Muta, went down. This is when the reset started, and God said, be fruitful and multiply. He said it in the heavens and he said it on the earth. The Neolithic farmers and other white survivors bred with other Adamic peoples to multiply the Adamic white race. And this is evident all over the earth, because there are literal skeletal remains all over the United States, Europe, and any continent you go into, even over in China, that they have found Caucasian skeletal remains. This is a fact. So that being said, let's move to the next one. Let's look at the meaning of Galilee. What is Galilee? Okay, the meaning of Galilee is hidden in plain sight. If you connect these words and you drop a couple of them, you drop the G, the E, and the L, and the I, Galilee, and you add the C, is basically Gaelic, the Gales. You break the word down and it's Ga, El, or El. The L's are the sons of Galilee, the sons of El from Galilee. Jesus of Nazareth was a Galilean who was born in Bethlehem, but raised in Nazareth, a village in Galilee. Let's look at the origin of the people of Galilee, of the Gales. The Gales' origin are debated by historians, but one theory is that they came from Ireland around 500 AD. This is key right here. They believe, let me move this out of the way here. They believe they were descendants of the gods and came from Ireland, from the underworld. Does that mean that they were devils? No, that's not what it means. This simply means if you have an understanding of the hidden text outside the 66 books, and you get into certain books, like I've said 100 times, the Gospel of Nicodemus and another text, especially rejected text, they tell you that when Adam fell, and God told that Adam this even in the Ethiopic writings, he said basically, if you can't go into the cave for 3 days, how are you going to deal when you're in hell? So part of his punishment, he was thrown from a God, he was thrown into a flesh body, lived on the earth 930 years. Upon his death, Adam and all of his sons were sent into Sheol for 4,570 years until God came back in the flesh, a ray of light through the seed line of his son. That's what Son of Man means. It's a word play. It means son of Adam. The son becomes the father, and the father becomes the son. And the ray of light, or our Father, the invisible spirit, entered into this lower dimension, into a flesh body, and freed his sons and said, come to me, ye my sons, who were made in my image. And some of these sons that they recognized, they understood that they were the descendants of these gods from the underworld. And that goes with the Tuatha De Danann, and I'm not going to get into them again, but that's in another show. If you want to read if you want to view the God series, we get into that in depth. But this is what they're telling you. And this right here is very interesting. This Jesus of Nazareth was a Galilean who was born in Bethlehem, but raised in Nazareth, village in Galilee. So we're going to get into the meanings of these words. So Jesus of Nazareth, let's start here first. The meaning of Nazarite. Now, if you look up the word Nazarite, you're going to have your typical response that they were Jewish people, blah, blah, blah. And anyone who studies this, we know that's an identity theft and a fraud. It's something that they learned from their father, the shape-shifting identity thieves. Jesus of Nazareth, the meaning of Nazarite. If you look at the very meaning of Nazarite, if you go into Google, it's going to give you your basic, oh yes, that these were Jewish people, blah, blah, blah. And that's historically not accurate, has nothing to do with them. Basically, this is telling you the Nazareans, or the ites, and that basically means the paternal lineage, or sons of, or belonging to a certain tribe of the father. And if you break this word down, Nazarite, you break it right here, Nazarite, and it basically, this is where the New York bankers came up with this name, because they never called themselves that. And I'm not advocating this group or yay or nay. It's simply a turd in the punch bowl argument to me. It means nothing to me. So I don't like to be labeled or attached to any of these people. I'm not in their camp. And that's what the enemy does. They've demonized these people. So you'll have certain shills that go on the internet and they'll show these old symbols of these guys, and then they'll try to attach you to them. And I'm not attached to it. I'm in nobody's camp. You know, the camp that I'm in is his camp right here, Jesus of Nazareth, my Father in the heavens. That's the camp that I'm in. I'm not in any group. So just a little side note putting that out there. But I am simply giving you the understanding of where they came up with that. They actually called themselves National Socialists. They never called themselves Nazis. So I am not a big, historian on Nazi Germany. I don't, I that's not my swim lane. I don't really look into it that much. I'm just giving you a base understanding from biblical times of where they got this. And you read the Bible, and it even tells you my Nazareans were pure white, and that's where that word originates from, right there. So Jesus the Nazarene, you get rid of the it's na as anum, and within this very word Nazarene, you have the word anum. If you take the an and you reverse the an and you add or you add mu right to left, the land of Mu, you have anum. So that means the son. Jesus came through the son of Anum Ra, which was his own genetic template that he made his son. He gave his son his very own genetics. That's what that means. And he came through this line, the line of Anum Ra, the son, or Adam was the son, the S-O-N of the S-U-N. So El Ra is God's sons of light. Now, what's the meaning of the word German? And I think it's scrambled right in the very word. You have German. You break that word down. But within the word, you have the word amen. You unscramble this anagram, A-M-E-N. It's hidden in plain sight. And I found this interesting. I've said this before. When you pray and you cross your arms like this and you pray, you lower your head in respect to your Father, your arms are literally, they're making the symbol or the shape of a pyramid, a truncated pyramid, however you want to word it. And then you bow your head, and it's your pineal gland, and you are connected to the Most High through that pineal gland, and you can speak with him. That's why they put fluoride in your water, to calcify that, to cut off that connection of the sons of El to their father. But when you pray, you are literally making the truncated pyramid sign right above your pineal gland, and you are communicating with the Most High. So little side note there, but let's get back to amen. It equals Amun, Adam. Okay. I said earlier that these words have double and triple meanings. Well, this word is exactly that. So that's the first meaning. The second meaning, you get rid of that G again. And if you reverse this right to left, the and you break that down right to left, it's Ra. Ra is in other languages was another way of saying Ra, which means the sun or the sun. So it's son Ra man, or men of the Son of God, who was Adam. Jesus is the light of the world. Adam, the Son of God, son of the Son, God, sons of light. So moving on. Who were the Latins? And I'm not talking about the ones invading the country right now. Those, I don't know each one of their genetic makeup. I'm not going to broad brush everyone, because God's sons of light are all over the planet. But in the context that they use it in, that's not it, because the actual original Latins were from Rome, and anyone can look into that. And then you have King Latinus and all that other good stuff. I mean, that's history I'm not going to get into, but the very meaning of Latin, if you look at it, is hidden in plain sight. Again, you get rid of the L. Aten. Aten is another way of saying Adam, another root word of Adam, atum ra, Adam. And then if you add an E, let's go to the second level. You add an E to the L and separate it. You have El Aten, El Atum Ra, God's sons of light. Italy was a part of Atlantis. This is a great channel. I've mentioned this a few times, Mystery History, but We're going to go to Italy and we're going to show the Atlantean architecture all throughout the world, but especially here in Italy. So please be patient. Let's take a look at this.
One of these ancient places is known to the modern man as Italy, seemingly littered with not only polygonal masonry, ancient pyramidal structures, multi-ton lintels and archways, but contains countless other compelling, extremely ancient yet surviving features, which not only indicates the existence of this past civilization, but have been investigated by a number of alternative antiquarians throughout the eras, who, after in-depth analysis, have come to predictably startling conclusions in regards to their age and indeed possible origins. We have in the past covered a number of these ancient sites, one of which being the Cyclopean Wall, which still surrounds the ancient Acropolis of Alatri, and indeed the astonishing polygonal masonry which makes up the apparently Greek-constructed Necromantion, a place not only proven due to the polygonal architecture to undoubtedly predate this academic explanation, but also, thanks to our own study of the site, has fingerprints left by a tool within the main chamber, said to be the passageway to the underworld of Hades, that we have identified and linked to a number of other unexplained sites found throughout the world. However, this coverage of the Italian relics we have so far explored is but a fragment of what is actually hidden among the winding streets and rolling hills of Italy. Alternative researchers, most notably Giuseppe Lugli, have carried out studies of the unexplained polygonal techniques, which can still be found existing within Italy. The ancient fortifications and polygonal walls, which were researched and initially noted by Giuseppe, include Alatri, Norma, Arpino, Assini, Saracina Gate, Cosa, Alba Fucens, Segni, Pigra, Blera, Lazio, Bomarzo, Latium, San Felice Circio, Latina, Chiusi, Etruria, Toscania, Vitrala, Viterbo, Monte Albano, Sovana, Toscana, Nardo di Pace, Tirna, Lago di Pitiluca, Orvieto, Umbria, Tuscany, Maremma, Sorano, Syracuse, Sicily, Val di Saviore, Cerveteri, Savignano, and so on. As Richard Casero puts it, a modern researcher of these enigmatic ruins, quote, "The countryside around Rome is littered with relics of a past more or less remote. One feels almost a continuity there, between the ancient and the modern world, with the ancient Roman ruins being almost a familiar presence, as if part of the natural landscape. Yet one also finds there remains of a much older and mysterious past. Massive cyclopean walls encircle towns and villages, their stones darkened by the passing of centuries and millennia. One can never get used to them, so strange they are in their interlocking geometries, and so different from the familiar contours of Roman and medieval walls. They loom as a relic from an entirely different past, of which we know almost nothing." End quote. And as mentioned, although we have only personally covered the Cyclopean walls surrounding Alatri, similar ancient fortifications can seemingly be found enclosing countless other ancient ruins all over Italy. The small towns of Sutri, Emilia, Pellestrina, Ferentino, Segni, Sezza, Veroli, and Arpino, all in the province of Frosinone, Norba, Cori, and Circe, Cortona, Cuma in the province of Latina, Emilia in nearby Umbria, as far as Ansidonia, Orbitello, and Roselle in Tuscany and Alba Fucens in Abruzzo, are entirely surrounded by Cyclopean walls, surviving to this day in various states of preservation, an indication of a fear these people had of some form of outsider. The stone walls, some of which constructed from truly gigantic blocks, each weighing many tons, are as finely fitted together as the many other mortarless ruins found elsewhere the world over, such as within ancient Peru. But it is their near impossible acute angles and interlocking corners that cause the greatest of amazement, that, just like the polygonal masonry found all over the world, was created as if each stone was individually carved to be a piece of a gigantic jigsaw puzzle. These features, along with their gigantic scale, are relics not only overlooked by the thousands of people who visit Italy each year, but, as we have previously discussed, are overwhelming evidence of an ancient civilization far more capable than any of the well-studied ancestors that academia claim as the original builders. These remnants are undoubtedly evidence of a past civilization that were not only vastly more proficient in masonry than even the modern man, but were also obsessed with building enclosed fortifications, as if to avoid some form of outside invader or possible natural threat. Who built ancient Italy? Why did they build with such focus on fortification? How old are these relics? We feel that due to their inexplicable nature, they are undoubtedly relics left by a now lost civilization, yet continue to be ignored by an academia who deny this people's past existence. Regardless of these denials, we find ancient Italy highly compelling.
Wow. Who built the ancient structures in Italy and all over the world? Well, I'll tell you exactly who built them. Amun-Ra, Adam, and the sons of God built them in a pre-existent form as gods on the earth, and then upon their fall, placed into flesh bodies. So here we have more evidence of Atlantis all over the world, hidden in plain sight, in your history relegated to mythology, when in actuality, mythology is real history, and the history that they give you today is the mythology. So having said that, Romans 1 verse 7, to all that be in Rome, beloved of God, called to be saints, mistranslation, sons, grace to you and peace from God our Father. Now they'll say, no, God and or God or my, and that's the Masoretic scribes that got a hold of this, and they changed with these little subtle words throughout the translations, because you can go into the same different verses in older text. You can go to Wycliffe 1382 in the old broken English, and the word is not there. And I'll give you an example of that later on in the show. But this is telling you, and this is a very cryptic verse in my opinion. It says, to all that be in Rome. They're speaking of the sons of Rome. Beloved of God, called to be sons. God is calling the Romans his sons. Grace to you and peace from God, our Father. And I got rid of the and, because that's an added word there to make it like, oh, and like these are two separate beings. That's a hoax. They always do that. You have to be more sophisticated to understand the fraud of the lying pens of the scribe. So it's peace from God, our Father. They're telling you that the Father of the Roman people is God, the Lord Jesus Christ. So the esoteric meaning of Italian, and it's hidden in plain sight. If you reverse the A and the T, here's the root word of atum ra. It's A-T, and you drop the L, the A, and the N. You have the base word Atlan. So from God our Father, beloved, to all that be in Rome, the sons of God, the Italians of the Italian band Cornelius, and if you add the TIS to the Atland, you have Atlantis. So to all that be in Rome, sons of Atlantis or of Adam, peace, grace to you and peace from God our Father, Jesus Christ. So right in your face, they hide it. We're going to go to another level. To all that be in Rome, we're going to go back to that verse, and we're going to break down the word Roman. Now here I went through, it took me about an hour to do this, but I went through the different meanings through the old Proto-Indo-European language, anything I could find on the word row and the meanings of it from the different civilization, the different European countries from our language. And if you look at the word row, it's an adjective describing a noun, blah, blah, blah. Row, okay, it means the descendants row, Middle High German, ro, rosh, ro, ra. So here we have a connection, ro or raw or ra. And here we have the same thing, alternative forms. We have ru, ra, or roa, and it basically means the same exact thing. In German, it's ro, or Yiddish, it's roy, but ro and ra is a descriptive term of a certain group of people. And so in other words, the esoteric meaning of the Romans, which we go back here, and it tells you right in the book, to all that be in Rome. These are the Romans, beloved of God. God loved the Romans. Why? Why did he love these Romans? I thought they were the ones that killed him. No, they didn't kill him. Those who call themselves Judah but do lie, they killed him. And they're telling you, to all that be in Rome, God loves you. Why? Because these are the Ra men. The men are people, or the sons of Ra, son, the son, S-O-N, Adam, of the light, son, Jesus Christ, the son of Adam, right here. These words, they all connect. And like I said, your understanding of your reality is hidden in plain sight in these very words. So that being said, let's move on. I'm going to give you just a slight example. There are people out there that tell you, Jesus is not God, right? Right? And they use that brainwashing garbage on you, and they use the Bible to explain the Bible. And I'm going to give you a subtle example of how the lying pen of the scribe has changed these certain verses. So they'll go into their King James version, and they'll use this verse. They love this verse, Matthew 24:36. It says, but of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. So this implies that Jesus's daddy he was God in heaven. He was his son, even though Luke 3:38 tells you that Adam was the son of God. And in the book of Job, it says that he had many sons. And that's a common theme throughout the Bible. So is this word my, is that an accurate translation? No, not at all. This is the 1611 King James Masoretic edition or version of the Bible. And these verses throughout time have lost their true meaning through the translation and the lying pen of the scribe. Let's read the same exact thing in this old broken English. It says, but of the day and hour no man knows, not the angels of heaven, but the Father, that's the way they said it back then, but the Father alone, the and my. So if you only read this book, you have these serpents that come in, these antichrist serpents that hate Jesus, and then they'll try to label you. You're a Trinitarian. You're a this or you're that. No, if you research God's word as he commanded you, you can see through the fraud of these fork-tongued serpents that tell you that, see right here, it says my Father. It says it right there. That's the proof. This is the Bible proving the Bible. But when you go to older texts, it tells you right here in the Wycliffe 1382 edition, it tells you the Father right in your face. And if you go to one of the oldest codex that was written of the Bible, which was Sinaiticus, and you get into scholars who speak about Codex Sinaiticus, they literally tell you that there were 14 to 19,000 alterations in that codex alone. So anyone who says that they have an accurate version of the Bible, you're kidding yourself. You don't have it. This Bible and the very words and the genealogies, if you read Clement and a lot of writings of the early church fathers, they tell you that the genealogy alone from the Bible was destroyed 3 to 4 times by these same group of people who call themselves the tribe of Judah, but do lie to hide your genealogy. So they can say that, Mary was not of the tribe of Judah and all this garbage. But when you read these other texts and you come outside of this altered version of God's word, you see these small, subtle changes, and they're all through the Bible. So if you're going to Codex Sinaiticus, which I have a copy of, there are alterations all through that. And you know, that's a little side note there just to let you know what you're involved in. And you really have to study to show yourself approved to rightly divide God's word. So that being said, let's move on. What is the esoteric meaning of the Bible? Okay. And I'm not trashing the Bible. I love the Bible if it was in its true form. That's why I read other texts to give me understanding of these altered versions. I'm going to go back one more time to, you know, not to be redundant, but right here shows you right in your face, the and my. So with that one word, my, they change the entire meaning of this verse, and that causes confusion. Okay, so that being said, let's go back to the esoteric meaning of the Bible. In its pure form, if it were put together, which none of us have, like I said, even the CIA admits that the Bible was destroyed and then it was brought back through memory. But if you look at the very word, there's a lot hidden in this word, another multi-level meaning in one word. So you look at the word by equals, and it's a sound, a pronunciation, by. You can say by, bi, or by an individual's, the book, or, you know, written by a certain being, by or ba, by, ba, l. You look at the second word, ba, the B makes the BA sound. So this is Abba. You add Abba to that. So it's by, ba equals father. And at the end, you have L right in your face. By L, reverse the E and the L, L. And the meaning of Bible is book by father L, right in your face. They hide it. And it's been in front. You have some people say a book, basic instructions before leaving Earth. I mean, that's a little cutesy, acronym there, but I don't really think it means that. You know, I think the deeper level esoteric meaning of these hidden words, like, is literally right in your face, and I'm presenting that to you. Now, moving on to the Torah. What is the Torah? What is the meaning, the hidden meaning of Torah? You break this word down. To Ra, you get rid of the H. El's law to Atum Ra. That's right. The law was given to Adam first in his pre-existent form when he was a god. God's laws to Adam and his sons. El Ra'is, God's sons of light. And this is written, this is a book it's called the Haggadah, stolen by the rabbis. It says, if Israel, or Adam, who was the first Israel, the first son of light, accepts the Torah, you will continue and endure. Otherwise, I shall turn everything back into chaos again. The whole world was thus kept in suspense and dread until the day of revelation on Sinai, when Israel received and accepted the Torah and so fulfilled the condition made by God at the time when he created the universe. So yes, we have pre-existence before and on earth. We have the sons of the children of Israel accepting the law right here. This is Old Testament law. And then we have even older, back to the first covenant. It says made by God. It was the condition made by God at the time when he created the universe. And the very meaning of Haggadah is hidden right in plain sight. You look at the word Haggadah, and right to left, it's ADA, Ada, the root word of, and you add an M, Adam, books of Adam, stolen by the rabbis. And that's what they do. They everything that we have, they take and they bastardize it, and they make it their writings, you know, to say it's theirs and it was written to them. And I believe, in my opinion, that this word Israel, and I know this is three separate words, it's even in the King James that way, but I believe that this word to me is more of a title. And this title that's given to them is the El, the light that's given to the light right here is given from El's light given to his sons in the flesh right here, God's sons of light. So having said that, let's go to the next slide. The Book of Life, a genealogical record of the sons of Adam, God's sons of light. Now, don't be too alarmed when I bring this up, but this is hidden in plain sight. And I'm going to give you the esoteric meaning of the Talmud. Now, do I think the Talmud is a heavenly writing? No, it's been bastardized, it's been destroyed, but there are segments in the Talmud, if you read it, and I've read a lot of the subsections of it. I haven't read the whole thing because it's so ridiculous and stupid. I had to, it was boring to me. But the esoteric meaning of the Talmud was hijacked. This is from my understanding. The Talmud was hijacked by the sons of darkness, rewritten and edited by the rabbis, and these writings were claimed as their own. The biblical narrative and stories and bits of layered detail are scattered throughout the Talmud and the Midrash and other sources, including oral in the 19th century. Louis Ginsburg undertook the task of arranging or rearranging, I added that, the Haggadah. So the esoteric meaning of the Talmud is right in your face. ATUM, we have the land of Mu here again, the MU and the Atum, book of the generations of Adam. And in the Midrash, we have the same thing, ADIM, Adam, another derivation of Adam in your face. But like they're telling you right here, they have taken a lot of the writings, the biblical writings or the historical writings all the way back to Atlantis, and they've hijacked it and they've infused or bastardized these books, and they've added disgusting, sick Babylonian traditions from their father Satan, and they've added those meanings into the book so they could lay claim to it and say it's theirs. But when they're talking about historical perspective of Adam and genealogical record, I'm not saying it's 100% accurate, but a lot of it lines up with other texts that I've read, and they are pretty accurate if you read certain segments of it. So having said that, let's go to the next slide. I'm going to give a base understanding of, let me minimize myself, the esoteric meaning of Ararat, Mount Ararat. So I'm not going to stay too long on this, but you get the gist. Mount Ararat. So here we have the same word again. We have rat, R-A-R-A-T, tar. So it's rat one way, tar another. And then we have Ararat. So the A equals Atum Ra. You have the A-T, Atum Ra. It means the sun, rat, Atum Ra. That's what it means. That's where the word Tartaria comes from. So anytime you see this, if you put an S in front of it, a star, they tell, oh my God, that's one of those balls of whatever. And a lot of those stars that you see, they may very well be that, but there are a lot of those, and I have almost 10,000 pictures of these with my Nikon P900 that show that certain of these stars, not all of them, but certain of these so-called stars, okay, are not that, what they see. And they open dimensional portals to a higher dimension, and there are people there. They've even told you that in Hollywood movies. So anytime you see this sequence of letters, T-A-R, R-A-T, star, tar, Tartaria, land of Adam, that's the meaning of it. So you break it down, Mount Ararat is Ararat, Tartaria, Mount Tartaria, Adia, you add an L and an N, you have Atlantia, Atlantis, Atum's land, meaning Mount Adam. Okay, so that's the significance of where that came from when Noah's Ark was laid to rest there. So according to the biblical text. Anatolia. The earliest historical data related to Anatolia appeared during the Bronze Age and continued throughout the Iron Age. The most ancient period in history of Anatolia spans from the emergence of the Hittans up to the conquest of Anatolia. So let me see. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. You have the Bronze Age from the time of 2,000, 7,000 people. Okay, so let's look at the actual esoteric meaning of this word, Anatolia. The esoteric meaning of Anatolia is hidden in plain sight again in one of these anagram word scrambles. We have the word Anna, A-N-A-T-O-L-I-A. So we have the word Atan. Now, some people will say, well, if you throw an S in front of that, that's Satan. Yeah, you're right. It could be that. But the problem with that train of thought is there's no S in the word. So if there was an S in the word, I'd be reluctant to use atan as a symbol of Adam. But this is a root word from another vernacular or another civilization, possibly of their language. But there, like I said, there's no S. So the root word here is atan, or atum, or Adam. Level one, that's the first level of the meaning. So second level of the meaning, Atlan, and you add a TIA, and you have Atlan, the root word again of Atlanta or Atlantia, right in your face. It's right here. You add that T and you have Atlantia, Atlan, Atlan, add that T, Atlantia, Atla, a tombsland. It was called by the Greeks Anatolia, literally meaning place of the rising sun. That's not by coincidence, because Anatolia was named after our father, Adam. Continuing. Let's look at the rejected books of Bartholomew. So there are those that will tell you that Jesus was Jewish, or he was this, or he was that. And in the book of Bartholomew, a rejected book, we're going to see what Jesus thought of these people who called themselves the tribe of Judah, but do lie. Then the Savior turned towards the man who had betrayed him, namely Judas Iscariot. And Jesus said to him, Judas, what have you gained from delivering me to the hands of these dogs, the Jews? Except that I have received all suffering until I fulfill the will, the first covenant between Jesus and Adam, the will of the Father, and until I save my image, because Adam was made in the image of his Father, my Son that I have begotten. So let me pause here. So why, if Jesus was one of these individuals here who call themselves the tribe of Judah, why is he calling them dogs? Because Jesus was not of them. That's the biggest lie ever told. And I read that in the last show and some hidden text, that they would reverse your reality and your understanding of what you're in and your biblical understanding through the words. And they have connected these two falsely, and they have nothing to do with each other. So that being said, let's continue. The Savior, the living one, mounted the great chariot of the cherubim, all on fire, shining with light of life, while a great multitude of angels and archangels were at the entrance of the tomb. With cherubim and seraphim, the 24 elders, the powers, multitudes of blank, these are fragments, without number, blank, him. And Jesus broke and crushed the doors. So this is another version of the Gospel of Nicodemus, but in Bartholomew. So here's your second or third witness. Probably this is the fourth witness where I found this. It says that Jesus broke and crushed the door. He broke the bars of bronze, their bolts, their doors, hinges were destroyed. Jesus raised their souls up, or the sons of Adam and his sons. He raised their souls up from hell, making it desert and abandoned. He bound the shameless one of Satan. He bound Beliar, that's Beelzebub. He trampled Melchor, Beelzebub. Jesus fastened him with iron and steel. Jesus went down into Tartarus and hell and scattered it. Jesus fettered the devil and saved Adam and all his children. He saved the humans, or the Amun. Notice they connect human with Amun, Adam. That's what human means, Amun. Get rid of that H and unscramble the word hidden in plain sight. This is a direct correlation of the two. They are one and the same. He saved the humans, his sons. He had pity on his image, because Adam was made in the image of God, not man. Adam was made in his image. He freed all of his creation, or all of his begotten, Adam and his sons, throughout the entire world. He cured his sons, whom the enemy had wounded. The holy and faithful shepherd returned the sheep that had gone astray to his flock, and he returned Adam to his original state. He forgave them their sins in peace. Amen. Amun Ra. Amen. That is bombshell right in your face. I'm bringing to you more proof that Jesus did not come for the world. He came for his children that were in the world. What his whole sacrifice was. And that was the very first covenant. You can find that in the Ethiopic writings, and it's right in your face. So that being said, this concludes part 6. I'm working on some other stuff in the future. I'd like to thank everyone for their support, and thank you. And please spread this to all your friends. Give us a like, and may Jesus bless you in all your endeavors. And remember, Jesus Christ was the Father in the flesh and is the Father. Good night.